Blast off! Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We should be live.
We are, I believe. How
Yep.
you doing?
I'm doing fine. We've been discussing ice cream, specifically Girl Scout mint chip something ice cream. Sounds really good to me.
Hmm.
All right, it is time for roll call. We've got Alan and Brett and Bruce and Jason and Frank and Jill and John and Mike and Sandy and Michael and Steve. And I believe we got Frank rolling in here down at the end game. So it's welcome to everybody. Allison matches the cushion tonight. I do. Rainbow logos everywhere. I was on a show earlier this week, and Steve spent 10 minutes making sure that we had a problem that Baby Yoda was, or not Baby Yoda, I know, was not covering up the Apple logo on the cushion. So, I mean, there's a lot of important work goes on here. People don't realize the contribution that Steve actually makes. Right, Steve?
Oh, I make a contribution?
Important stuff like that. What on earth, Alan? That I don't understand. Not sure that's a good one. Somebody say a bunch of stuff so that we can scroll that one up so I don't have to look at it. All right, I already did a sound check, so I am going to kick right in, Steve, unless you have anything to contribute there.
No, nothing to contribute.
All right. At all, ever, or just right now?
Not at the moment. I'm sure I will at some point. I think we're ready.
I'm going to mute you. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 11th, 2021, and this is show number 831. All right. Quick chapter mark. And I can kick into this one. Keep rolling here. This week, my guest on Chit Chat Across the Pond was Greg Vanderheiden, professor and director of Trace R&D Center at the College of Information Studies at the University of Maryland. Now, that name might sound familiar. That's because I recently interviewed him on the NosillaCast about a product he's working on called Morphic. When we were preparing to do that interview, Greg started to tell me some fascinating stories about the early days of accessibility, and I asked him if he'd come back and tell us about it in Chit Chat Across the Pond. He has literally been working in accessibility for 50 years. In our conversation, he talks about how he got tricked into getting interested in accessibility in the first place and about how he quit his job to start the Trace Institute, which has been a pioneer in high-impact research and development in tech and disability. He then told fascinating stories of how he was invited to work with Apple in the John Sculley days. At that time, they felt that accessibility was important enough to dedicate 40 kilobytes of space on the system disk. Now, to give you some perspective, back then, the operating system ran on one or two 400 kilobyte floppies. He got 40 kilobytes. Anyway, this was a fascinating discussion, not just because Greg is a great storyteller, but because of the lessons his vivid examples teach us about how we think about people with disabilities. I really encourage you to go check out Chit Chat Across the Pond number 680, or check it out in your podcatcher of choice. Oh, what's wrong?
I think you have me muted, and you got to bring me up in Mimo. You have Mimo muted?
I don't think I do.
So you weren't hearing me when I was talking?
You're flatline in Mimo Live, Steve. Yeah, I don't think you're on in Mimo Live. All right. Close that one down. All right. Can anybody else hear Steve in Mimo or coming through? No, Alan doesn't hear you. Oh, you hear him in Discord. He does not appear to be in Mimo Live to me. You're flatline in Mimo Live. Do you see your own audio, Steve, in Mimo Live? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Actually, let me unmute you in Discord so I can hear you there. Okay, Steve?
How about now?
Now you're in Mimo Live. So you had turned yourself off. Am I right?
I thought you muted me. Okay.
No, I know, but admit it. You turned yourself off in Mimo Live.
No, I didn't, but I didn't turn myself back on, I think was the problem.
But you didn't turn yourself off.
Right. All right.
Turned off. Okay.
Okay.
Just saying.
I think we're good now.
Okay, good. Now I'm muting you. All right. Steve and I have this fun thing where he always uses the passive voice when something like he didn't drop something, it fell. All hell breaks loose. Not yet. All right, here we go. Tom Merritt and Sarah Lane of the Daily Tech News Show occasionally have what they call roundtable shows. They invite in a few guests to talk about a single subject. This week, they invited me, along with Rod Simmons of the SMR podcast, Bodie Grimm of the Kilowatt podcast, and Howard Yermish from kilowatt.simplecast.com to join them to talk about electric vehicle ownership. That's not right. That is not right. That's Bodie's. He's from howardyrmish.com. Hang on. Glad I noticed that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Glad I noticed that because Bodie listens to the podcast. And I almost... Whoops.
So do you have Bodie's site there twice?
Bodie's is right, but I repeated it on Howard. I used the link for
Bodie, yeah.
I used Bodie's link for Howard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Tom Merritt and Sarah Lane of the Daily Tech News Show occasionally have what they call roundtable shows. They invite in a few guests to talk about a single subject. This week, they invited me, along with Rod Simmons of the SMR podcast, Bodie Grimm of the Kilowatt podcast, and Howard Yermish from howardyrmish.com to join them to talk about electric vehicle ownership. When they first set up the list of questions, I got to admit that I never thought we could get through so many questions with so many people contributing. But it actually turned out great because each of us had a different perspective and different experiences. Bodie's podcast is all about EVs in general, so he has this vast depth of knowledge about the progress of all different companies' efforts in this area. Now, Rod, on the other hand, has owned a Model X himself for a very long time, and his wife has a Model 3, and he's the master of charging on long road trips. Howard was great because he owns a Hyundai Kona EV, which I'd never seen before, so it was very additive to the Tesla knowledge from me and Rod. Tom asks us in this, how much does it cost to charge versus buying gas? Sarah owns a gas-powered SUV, and she was shocked at how little we pay to charge in comparison. We talked about the almost non-existent maintenance on EVs, and I think I quelled fears about the longevity of the big batteries. We covered the most common question of how long it takes to charge, and collectively came up with the answer I always say, which is, it depends. This was where Rod's experiences and advice were super valuable about charging on the road. We ended the show by each answering Tom's question, who shouldn't buy an EV? I was intrigued by our 4 different answers that I think were all correct. Roger Cheng is the show's producer, and he's notorious for having contrarian opinions and a little bit of a lack of enthusiasm. I can prove that this was a great show because when we were finished, he was super complimentary and said that he learned a lot. So if you're curious about what it's really like to own an EV from 4 completely different perspectives, I highly encourage you to follow the link in the show notes to listen to the EV Owners Roundtable DTNS special. Yeah, good. All right.
How are those chapter marks doing?
I might do one without Kevin.
He's here.
Oh, he's here.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
I I thought so.
All right, I guess our reign of terror is over,
Siri just said, I thought so.
Sandy. Oh, yeah.
She must have thought. She was expecting Kevin, I guess.
Okay, well, he was
As one
always
does.
here. All right. Oh, you guys, Mike Price, you're going to be so proud of me. I did some automation all by myself this week. All right, going to keep going. Yes, lady, shut up. Nice. Wonder how often people say that. Oh, Kurt's here. Good. I was holding. I'm going to play your bit right after I'm done here. Here we go. Have you ever noticed that when you're listening to the NosillaCast in your podcatcher of choice, that you also get a list of links to each blog post article that's in the show? You can simply tap those links to get right to the content, see the images, and follow any links within the articles. In the old days, I wrote one giant blog post for every podcast episode, and these posts were around 5,000 words long. Years ago, I decided to break it up into separate articles and let each article be its own blog post. It was a great decision for so many reasons, but one commitment the listeners asked of me at the time was that I promised to collect the links to all of the blog posts for the week and put them in the final blog post for the podcast episode. Now, it's not hard to collect the blog post links. I wrote a little automator service that makes it quick and easy, but adding them to the podcast feed so that you see them in your podcatcher is an annoying, error-prone, and labor-intensive effort. By labor-intensive, I don't mean it's all that hard each time, but when you realize that I've done it hundreds and hundreds of weeks in a row, you can see how it can get tedious. This process was crying out to be automated, and that's exactly what I did this week. I am very proud of my little self for figuring out how to do it, so I'd like to tell you about it. Steve, are you in the actual article?
Yes, I am.
Actually, I could fix it. Hang on. Just found a typo. Nope, that's the wrong article. Fine. No. T-E... Where is it? Tell you, there it is. The L and the U. Whoop. There we go. All right. Okay. Let's walk through the manual process first so you'll appreciate what I've changed it to. I write the show notes for the podcast episode in an application called MarsEdit from redsweater.com. As you undoubtedly know, this post includes plain text of my introduction, the week's blog posts with links, and also things like the pledge break and ending text that are full of other links. Let's call those links at the end my spam links, just for fun. The blog posts and chit-chat link are distinct from the rest of the text because I make each of those a heading, which makes them easy to jump to with screen readers, and visually they stand out because they're big and bold on the website and underlined so that you can tell that they're links. I do most of the writing in a language called Markdown, which lets you, in a very human I am clumsy tongue tonight. I do most of the writing in a language called Markdown, which lets you, in a very human-readable way, do things like create a heading. For a heading level 4, for example, which is what I usually use for the blog post, I simply put 4 hash marks at the beginning of the line, followed by a space. The chit-chat link is usually a heading level 3 with 3 hashes, and I might randomly use some other size from time to time. The links themselves that follow the hash marks are actually written in HTML. I know I could write my links in Markdown, but HTML gives me more control over things like whether they open in a new tab or drive you away from my website. You can tell which one I pick. Anyway, the important thing to know is that the HTML links start with a less than symbol A, so let's call it an angle bracket A, and they end with an angle bracket. That's clumsy. Anyway, it's hard to read. It's easy to write. The important thing to know is that the HTML links start with an angle bracket A and they end with an A angle bracket. So while in MarsEdit, the unique blog post links are on a line with some number of hashes, followed by a space, then followed by the URL. Now, the tool I use to create the feed for the podcast is called Feeder from reinventedsoftware.com. My goal with the show notes inside the feed, and hence inside your podcatcher, is to give you just the links in a nice bulleted list, followed by the top few links I think you might want available, like my email, my Tesla affiliate link, our Slack and Facebook community links, etc. To make this consistent each week, I wrote a text expander snippet that creates what's called an unordered list with a UL tag. That's what creates those bullets for you. And then it plops in all of the spam links down at the bottom. This text expander snippet leaves my cursor ready to put in each list item, which will be the blog post for you. But then comes the super annoying, manual, and error-prone process of copying each link from MarsEdit and plopping it into Feeder. First in Feeder, I have to use yet another text expander snippet to put in the bullet itself, which is called an LI tag. Then in Feeder, I have to very carefully select the URL by grabbing everything from the angle bracket A to the A angle bracket at the end of the line over in MarsEdit, but not grabbing the space before it or the hashes. I do Command-C to copy, Command-Tab to switch to Feeder, Command-V to paste. Now I have to get out of that LI tag, add a line feed, add another LI line for the next blog post bullet, and I actually wrote a third text expander snippet to do that LI nonsense for me. Rinse and repeat for every single blog post you see in your podcatcher. Now, obviously, this is not hard, and it doesn't even take that long. It's less than 5 minutes a week. But realize, I have done this annoying little exercise literally hundreds and hundreds of times. Heck, I'm sure you were bored just hearing me describe it once. Can you imagine having to do it every week? Hopefully, you now understand my motivation to automate this task. I just found another mistake. Because it's not in Mars. That was supposed to be Mars. It's a logic mistake, not a typo. Don't worry, Sandy. Okay. I had a vision of a single keystroke doing all of this work in one fell swoop. I know a lot of tools, but I wasn't sure which was the right one to start with this kind of task. So I threw it out to the Programming by Stealth Slack channel at podfeed.com/Slack. I had to be very careful how to word this question, or else the super helpful folks that follow that channel would have just solved it for me, which would take all the fun out of the project for me. I gave them the barest outline of the problem, and I asked them how they would start attacking this automation challenge. I got feedback from Alistair, Nuclear John, Mike Price, Mecca Westbay, and Caleb Fong, and consensus was that the tool I should use was Keyboard Maestro and a mysterious command called SED, spelled S-E-D. I love that they didn't solve it for me, and they left me with just these two clues. In Keyboard Maestro, you add these building blocks together to accomplish your task. My plan was that I'd start with the MarsEdit blog post open in the editing mode, have Keyboard Maestro select all the text, copy it, then some magic would occur in the middle. It would bring the waiting Feeder window to the front and paste in the glorious links. I easily built that structure in Keyboard Maestro, adding keystroke blocks for the select all, copy, and paste, and then I put in a script block for the magic part. In Taming the Terminal installments 17 and 18, Bart taught us how to use regular expressions to let you find patterns in piles of text using the grep command. That's G-R-E-P. It's a super arcane language with all kinds of crazy characters to work with, but when you need to search for a needle in a haystack of text, regular expressions are the right tool for the job. The main thing to know about regular expressions is that you're searching for patterns, not specific text. Let me say that again. Magic, yes, and then some magic occurred. The main thing to know about regular expressions is that it allows you to search for patterns, not specific text. In the task at hand, I'm not looking for a predefined blog post name. I'm looking for any link that is preceded by some unknown number of hash symbols and a space all on the same line. This is where regular expressions shine. Now, I've only had very few opportunities to actually use regular expressions, so I'm not at all fluent in the language. Luckily, there's a lot of tools available that allow you to test out your regular expressions on a representative bunch of text. A while back, Helma turned me on to a tool called Patterns in the Mac App Store to help with writing regular expressions. It's only $2.99, and it's really helpful. I got pretty far using Patterns, but I couldn't remember all of the arcane codes. Now, Patterns does have a help file with all of the codes, but there's no search within that file. I switched over to a great website called regex101.com. You not only can test your code against a glop of text, it's got a fantastic search section on the same page to look for the right commands. You can even save a link to your work so you can come back to it later. With a little bit of help from Helma, learning about POSIX compliant regular expressions, I had to go look that up. I had what looked like a working grep command to find the correct lines in my post. I'm now armed with a regular expression that can find all of the instances of lines with links within headings on my blog post. Well, that's great, but I need to change the format of those lines because I don't want those hashes in the space. I need to get rid of them, and I need to add the HTML tags to make those links into bullets. Now remember that the Slack folks suggested that this mysterious sed command would come in handy. So I went to the Googles to see what it was all about. It turns out that while grep will find the text you're looking for using regular expressions, the sed command will allow you to modify the text that you found, and it also uses regular expressions. That's good news because I didn't have time to learn yet another set of commands. I studied a bunch of commands and I studied a bunch of examples of sed online, and I got things sort of working, but not quite right. It was time to annoy Alistair Jenks. He was the one who told me to use sed in the first place, so this was all his fault. I was super vague with Alistair in my explanation of where I was stuck, again to keep him from solving my problem, and he was still able to give me the bits I needed. He created a super simple example of how to use grep and sed together to find and replace text. It allowed me to easily see where I'd gone wrong and got me back on the rails. Once I had things working in the test environment of the Patterns app, it was time to break out of the sandbox and test the code in the terminal on some real files. One reason I really like the app Patterns that Helma recommended is that you get your grep or sed command working in that little sandbox environment. Then you can just click a button and copy either the grep or sed command and paste it into the terminal or into a shell script. Now, Bart started teaching me shell scripts probably around, 1972? At least it feels that long ago. But this was actually the very first time I ever wrote a shell script all by my lonesome. I actually used my physical copy of the Taming the Terminal book to look up how to make my shell script executable. When I finally got that all working, I pasted the shell script into Keyboard Maestro. Now, I don't want to oversell this shell script, but it was 2 whole lines. And one line was to tell it which shell to use. The second line was the regular expression. But hey, I was still very proud of it. At this point, my Keyboard Maestro macro could copy the text from MarsEdit and manipulate it so it was in the right form and then paste it into Feeder. Technically, I had now met my own requirement specification for this task. But you know what? Once you get an automation working, it is impossible not to see I could do even more. Now remember, I use a text expander snippet to set up Feeder first with the bulleted list tag and my spammy links. What if I could have Keyboard Maestro execute the text expander snippet too and only then drop in my copied and manipulated links? That would be even cooler. One of the many building blocks in Keyboard Maestro allows you to type text. So I can just tell it to type my text expander abbreviation, which would then expand the full snippet into Feeder. The beauty of this is that I can continue to maintain my text expander snippet with updated links over time, and the Keyboard Maestro macro will always have the latest version. I thought I'd learned everything Text Expander could do when I developed a video tutorial on it for Screencasts Online, but I learned something new. You can put a placeholder in the middle of your snippet for the clipboard. Since the clipboard has my fancy extracted links, I was able to have them land right where I wanted them in my unordered list. In the end, my Keyboard Maestro macro turned out, My Keyboard Maestro macro turned out to be very simple. My early versions were very complicated. It had if-then-else blocks. It was saving text out to multiple text files and then bringing back the text files and copying it again. Anyway, I told Bart when I was done, it was like I started by building a set of monkey bars, but when I was done, I realized all I needed was a ladder. Now, Bart told me he was worried about learning Keyboard Maestro because he'd be too tempted to automate everything, whether it saved him much time or not. This very simple macro took me probably around 7 hours and 5 people's help to accomplish over the course of 3 days. And it will save me less than 5 minutes a week. That means my time investment will pay off in 19 short months. But you know what? I'll be less annoyed. I learned a lot, so the next time I need grep or sed or keyboard maestro, I'll start out by standing on a better foundation to do even more. I don't take for granted that I have more time to spend on learning than most people, but you know what? I gave up watching TV every night this week to get this done, and I feel like it was time spent very well spent. Now, I've included a link to download my tiny little Keyboard Maestro macro with my amazing regular expression because that's how you do it with Keyboard Maestro. You have to share. There we go.
Good job,
Oh, yeah, my
Allison.
little video. What's that?
Good job. I'm very proud
That
of
I
you.
shared?
No,
Did,
that you made this this Maestro, this shortcut macro.
You guys want to see it? I guess
By the way,
video.
my favorite little misspeak of yours was keyboard keyboard Maestro Micro.
Yeah. I decided
Maestro
not
Micro.
to fix that one.
That was a good one.
All right. Mike wants to see it.
Well, it's in there. I copied it.
The video is, but I want him to see it live.
So are you going to put it? Okay, I'll go full screen here.
So to start with, here's an example of the links. You can see the hashtags, and then there's the AHREF there, and then here's another one. But then we don't want to pick these out, right? I don't want it to grab these. I just want it to grab
those other links.
Ones. Yeah, yeah.
So just links that are part of headers.
Just the links that are part of headers, right?
Because they're titles
and
of
I don't know how many header links there actually are. So I'm going to open up Feeder, and I'm going to open a new window here. Stick it right here. So here's what I can. Is it looking good?
Yeah.
So what I used to do is click over in Mars Edit, try to capture that A, and half the time I would miss the little angle bracket. I'd hit Command C. Oh, first I'd do my text expander snippet, feed links. Okay, and actually it shouldn't have put that in there. Okay, it should have stopped with an unordered list, right? I shouldn't have copied something right before I did that. But then I would do Command LI to make a list item, paste in that one I just did, and then I would type Command, let's see, what was it? Comma LI, I think it was, and that makes another one. And I'd go back over here, and I would copy the next one, and I'd go back over here, and I'd hit paste. You can see how tedious that is, right? Here's what I can do now. I'm going to hold down Command Control Option Shift U. Boom!
Wow. That is some time savings.
Look at that. Isn't that exciting? Come on.
And what did you say the payoff would be in about 7 to 9 years?
19 months.
Oh, 19 months.
But
That's
think
not
how
bad.
happy I'm going to be.
Yeah, every time you push that button, you're going to be pleased as punch.
Yep. I mean, the feeder is already ready. It's just going to be sitting there. It's going to be ready before. I mean, because I didn't have to do any work. I went and did it. So fun.
Cool.
All right, let's stop fooling around and put in a chapter mark for PDX Kurt.
Yes.
You guys are going to get to hear.
Let's check out your chapter mark. There it goes. Well done.
All right. I forget whether Kurt introduces himself. All right, I'm going to use a FLAC for the first time. Yeah, 19 months does not include the fun factor. Let's see if Kurt introduces himself. Whoop. Macro. Whoop. You have to share.
This is a review of the Apple Beats Flex wireless Bluetooth earphones. As you might guess, I'm a fan of podcasts.
Okay, here we go. I do need to introduce him. Liebezeit. Is that right? Did I say it right, Kurt? Siri, I wasn't talking to you. I didn't say anything like that. All right. Waiting for Kurt. Not much introduction. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say it. Tell me if I say it wrong, Kurt. Next up, we have a review by Kurt Liebezeit, who is also known as PDX Kurt in the live chat room.
I think you got a yes.
All right,
Good pronunciation.
You have to share. Next up, that's too long. Good gap. Next up, we have live chat room.
This is a review of the Apple Beats Flex wireless Bluetooth earphones. As you might guess, I'm a fan of podcasts. For quite some time, I've used an iPod Nano 6th generation, you know, the small square ones that clip on your clothing, as my main podcast player. However, there are problems. They only accept wired earphones, which frequently catch on bicycle handlebars and doorknobs. They wear out and have to be replaced with chancy purchases off of eBay. They're too limited in capacity for many of the podcasts that I'd like to listen to while cycling or farming. Worst of all, when I listen to some podcasts on the little iPod Nano and some via my phone's Bluetooth connection in my car, iTunes gets confused and starts marking episodes that I've listened to already as unheard. For all these reasons, it made sense to consider switching all of my podcast listening over to my phone and use wireless earphones. I know, welcome to 2016. My decision to change over coincided with Apple's release of the Beats Flex earphones last fall. The headline features of the Beats Flex that were attractive to me were the battery life, listed as 12 hours of listening time, and the expectation that they would be seamless in integration with Apple's devices. The Beats Flex have delivered on both counts. I haven't actually run them down for 12 hours, but I have done several multi-hour listening sessions, and when I've checked the battery level afterwards, it has always appeared consistent with that 12-hour specification. And they are seamless in use, much like AirPods, I suppose. Pairing them to a phone is a breeze. The battery level is visible on my phone or iPad. They function as a talk and listen device on phone calls, and you can invoke Siri with a long button push. Physically, the Beats Flex are of the necklace style. A cable connects the right and left earbuds with two small inline capsules that house the battery and the controls. These capsules sit on your shoulders while the cable goes around the back of your neck. The right capsule has the charging port and the power button, which also has a tiny status LED built into it. The LED glows faintly white while the earphones are on and the battery charge is plentiful, turning first red and then pulsing red as the battery charge depletes down to that last half hour. The charging port is a USB-C, which is not that unusual. However, the cable supplied is A, very short, and B, USB-C to USB-C. If you're like me and don't have recent Apple charging equipment with a USB-C port, then you'll have to buy a little USB-C female to USB-A male adapter. The left side capsule has an up-down volume rocker button and a multi-purpose play, pause, Siri, phone control bump, as well as the microphone. The button sizes are distinct enough for me to discern them by touch, which is good since you can't see the capsules while wearing them on your body. The earbuds incorporate a magnet in each, so they snap together around your neck when you're not using them. This is more secure and less likely to lead to a tangled mess, which you might get if you simply jam them into a pocket. If a phone call comes in while they're snapped together, unsnapping them will answer the call. Similarly, if you are listening to a music or a podcast and snap them together, this will act like a pause command. The cable that connects the earbuds and capsules is flat and a little stiff. This makes it resistant to snarls and tangles, but I've found that folding it into a loop that will fit in a little rectangular zippered case can be a bit tricky. That is really all there is to say about features, so let's talk about what are probably the two most important attributes for earphones: fit and sound quality. The earbuds are of the in-ear variety, which I usually have trouble keeping in my ears. I have a drawer full of various in-ear earbuds that I've tried and given up on. However, the Beats Flex earbuds are slightly angled so that the back of the earbuds wedge against your ear a little, and to my surprise, I found that they work pretty well for me. Your mileage may vary. As for sound quality, they're much better than my usual wired Apple earbuds. It feels like all the frequencies are present and accounted for, with nothing being overly emphasized. They have a decent sense of stereo separation and presence, and they don't sound tinny or boomy. All of which is to say, they're at least as good as anything else I've ever tried, and a good deal better than most. Finally, let's talk value. When they were released last fall, the price was $55, and they were only available in two colors, Yucky Yellow and Disappear Into Your Backpack Black. I thought that even with those choices, the Beats Flex were a good value. As I write this now, the big retailer that starts with the letter A is selling the Beats Flex for only $40, and in better colors like blue and gray to boot. So if you like the idea of AirPods but want longer battery life, or are worried about losing small bits, or concerned about durability, I would say give the Beats Flex earphones a try.
That was great.
Love those adjectives on the colors. That's great.
Losing your black. That's hard to say. Disappear in your backpack black.
Black.
Try to say that.
3 times, quickly.
I can't say it once. All right, I'm going to
Good review, Kurt.
Little,
Well done.
yeah. I talked over you, Steve. He was saying good job. All right, I'm going to do a little voiceover here at the end.
I would say give the Beats Flex earphones a try.
Thanks a lot for that, Kurt. In case any of you are wondering, yes, he is a radio DJ, and that's why he has that fantastic radio voice. I really appreciate that, and your color options on that are my favorite thing about the whole review. This week, 2 people demonstrated the value they get out of the Podfeet podcast in a financial way. I had to giggle at Rob the Dutch's pledge on Patreon because he actually pledged the value of pie. Now, how nerd awesome is that? He's basically my hero. In his Patreon donation, he thanked me and Steve for the podcast, which I really liked. Unless you attend the live show where Steve does all the heavy lifting of the production of the video, you may rarely hear from him. But I assure you, he's quietly in the background supporting everything I do, and I absolutely would not be able to do what I do without his help. Now, we also had Kenneth, who went the PayPal route, and he sent a very generous donation and included a very kind note about the effort I put into helping the tech community. As I told him, his kind words meant even more to me than the money, but that I'll still accept the money. If you'd like to show your support, please click the red button entitled Support the Show on podfeet.com to see all of the different options and pick one that's right for you. Alrighty.
All right. How you doing on time here? You're at...
I'm at 23 minutes. Let me see how long it is when I put this in. So this is a recording now. Really got to do this before this gets much staler than it is. I've delayed it 2 weeks. This one. Different options and pick one that's right for you. And pick one that's right for you. Michael Carpelson is a senior staff engineer at Harvard School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. At the CSUN Assistive Tech Conference, he told me about a unique idea he's been working on to help with age-related vision loss. Welcome to the show, Mike. You're going to tell me you can't hear him. Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. So when we talked, you mentioned that the work you're doing is... Okay, so that's 24 minutes. I should probably keep going. It's at 43 already. If I hold off on this, on the... if I hold off on... I've got one more article, and it's about doing gaining storage on our Synology NAS. If I wait till next week, I'll have the whole story.
But it's already pretty long.
Yeah, the show's already 43 minutes.
Well,
I think I should save it.
Okay, I was saying the article is already pretty long. It's about 3,000 words.
Yeah. But so I'll hit an hour on the podcast if I read it.
How's
I
your
always
mach-
like to save them because that means less work next week. That's what that always means to me.
Yeah. It's up to you. Sandy
Yeah.
says save it. Wing Woman says save it.
I do use a whole lot of this week words, and then at the end I say, and then next week I'll tell you the rest of the story.
Well, that'll be a minor edit. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, now I want apple cobbler.
Oh,
All right,
that looked
I'll
good.
save it.
Oof.
So let me change the title of the blog post right now before I forget. Because that's the thing I always forget. I take it out. And I'm going to take that out. So, yeah. Okay. So now I need to make next week's post and start it. NC number, what do you think that is? 832? Might be. And I'll put that in there. Might change that title later. Let me go get that article out of the other one. And take that out. Yeah, you know I like to make my life easier. All right. Okay. Right. Don't tell Stephen Getz he could have had a longer show. He's the one who always gives me a hard time when the show's short. Hey, but it's 43 minutes. All right. Well, that winds up our coverage for CSUN for this year, but it also winds up the entire show for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments. I haven't had an Everything is Fiddly recording in a little bit. Don't forget to send those in too. You can send those by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. And you can follow me on Twitter @podfeed. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You want to become a patron like, this whole thing came out clumsy. I'm not going to keep that. What is his name? Dutch? Rob the Dutch. Wait, it's Rob the Dutch. I need to write this down because my memory is just not long enough to do both. It was Rob the Dutch. And what was the other guy's name? Kenneth.
Kenneth.
All right. Well, that winds up our coverage for CSUN for the year, and it also winds up this show for this week. Don't forget to send your dumb questions and Everything is Fiddly recordings. We haven't had any in a little bit. And you can also send comments and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. And you can follow me on Twitter @podfeed. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You want to be like Rob and become a patron? You can do that by going to podfeed.com/Patreon. And if you want to be like Kenneth and do a one-time donation, you can do that too. podfeed.com/PayPal. You want to join our community and chat with people? How about talking to those cool Programming by Stealth people over in our Slack at podfeed.com/Slack? Or you can join our Facebook community at podfeed.com/Facebook. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. You could even meet PDX Kurt, who did that review for us this week. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed.
And scene.
A patron like Vice President Harris. A patron. And scene. Let's see. There you go. For us this week. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. Yeah, Alan, that's only for the cool kids. That invitation to talk to me on Telegram. I don't want everybody to talk to me.
That involves giving out your phone number, right?
No, you can actually find me at Podfeet in there.
In Telegram?
Yep. I think so.
Hmm.
Isn't that right?
Maybe. You could be right.
Everybody finds Steve.
Let's see. Telegram.
All right. Well, I think I'm done then. We're done early instead of late because Kurt did a bunch of the work here. Oh, we have to do a chapter mark count.
Yes.
That's what
And-
Kevin says.
I'll subtract 1.
Yeah, so I
So 5.
see 1, 2. It's hard to count in here unless I wreck it. I see 5.
All right.
All right. We are good then.
We are aligned.
Cat's out of the bag now. Yep. Well, you guys are the cool kids. You guys are allowed to come talk to me in Telegram. I bother Sandy all the time in there, Kevin. Would anybody else like Jason to do a little review explaining how he has a GIF ready before I finish saying a word? He's got a GIF about it.
That might be Discord. Discord has built-in GIFs.
Yeah, but man, he's fast. GIF master. Oh, it does have built-in GIFs. I never noticed that. Okay, that's a good one. I like that. We've actually seen that from that view.
Yeah.
Mount Everest, isn't it?
It looks like it might be. Let's
That was
see.
Mount Everest we saw, right?
Yes. Oh,
Back when we could go on planes.
I missed the cat though.
Oh, you
we
didn't
did not
see the cat?
We did not see that.
Oh.
Actually, I was just looking at those. Let me pull it up since we got a
What,
couple
you gonna
minutes.
send- You gonna make them see our summer vacation?
No,
photos?
just that one, just the one photo. I think that was 2017. Right? No.
I don't know.
No.
I named my photos so I can find them.
I have no idea then.
Are you giving up?
2012?
No,
What year was that?
it wasn't that long ago.
2015. Let's try that.
No, that would be 6 years ago. If that's true, we're almost dead. That's just terrible. Of your new
Huh.
sewer treatment technology with the video. That'd be awesome, Kevin. Oh, you're disgusting. Did you find him yet, Steve?
Nope.
Do a search on India. You don't even have a folder for India?
Let's check.
I can find pictures of like my childhood sailboat. faster
Okay,
than you
it was
find.
2015. I do have India.
There's Mount Everest over the wing.
Oh,
Oh,
did
wait,
you-
no, I'm doing it.
No, you beat me to
There.
it. Yeah. Well, that could be anywhere, right?
The title of that photo is Steve didn't really see Mount Everest.
All right, we got it. Now you're challenging me.
I mean, I've got
Okay.
it right here.
All right, here we go.
Smell-o-vision.
There. Although I don't know if that's Everest itself.
Yeah, it is. Oh, wait a minute. You've got a different picture. I've got. I think it is off the tip. We could do this one.
Yeah, I think it's the one just to the right of the tip.
Now we really are doing our summer vacation.
All right, we've probably bored
We've
them
overdone
enough.
it. Too much.
Yeah.
Fine.
I think so.
All right, everybody. Well, I am going to call it then. I don't know how to stop the feed, but I'm going to wave goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Did Rose wasn't here, was she?
No, I didn't see her at all. Not even once.
Well, kiss
Sadly.
my entire digital family goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, chat room.